Tonight on your news at 9, firefighters in southeast Kansas get a unique opportunity to take part in some hands-on rescue training. Plus, we are headed to Pittsburgh to check out the cool cars in competition at the Mokan District's Pinewood Derby Mokan Districts. And over at Joplin's Empire Market, goats and gardening come together for four-staters with a green thumb. We are checking out the fun. Meteorologist Nick Kelly has your weather. Danny Terzer is on sports. I'm Mike Mahoney, and this is your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Well, thanks so much for joining us this evening. Today, firefighters in southeast Kansas got a unique opportunity to take part in some hands-on rescue training. KOAM's Chris Warner checked it out.
Volunteer firefighters pumping grain out of a silo to rescue a person trapped inside. Thankfully, in this situation, it's all simulated. Special training from the University of Kansas for 5 rural southeast Kansas fire departments.
We show them the basics on how to get started. They've already got some of their own equipment, so we're showing them the proper way to use it and all the techniques that they need to know to be able to effectively rescue somebody.
The training took place at the Osage Township Fire Department in McCune. Treasurer Sherry Schenker says thanks to a donation from the local co-op and others, Osage Township has its own grain rescue equipment.
When you're involved in an entrapment situation, minutes count, seconds count. And if you're having to go to another department that's miles away and get equipment or track someone down that might already own equipment, you could potentially be looking at a recovery rather than a rescue.
Instructor Bill Doan is a retired firefighter who spent 45 years saving lives. He says in his experience, the majority of calls are from farmers.
Most of the calls, if it's a grain rescue, it is at the local farmers. It's not at the co-op, because they're the ones that store grain on their own property, and sometimes they forget about what they're supposed to do or not to do, and so they put themselves in harm's way.
Schenker says it's only a matter of time before they'll need to use the techniques.
When you're in rural Kansas and you are in a heavy agriculture area like we are, it's not a matter of if a rescue is going to be needed. At some point, it's a when, and we need to know the techniques so we can appropriately respond.
In McCune, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Schenker also says she hopes to bring additional training to the departments in the area for other situations throughout the year. All right, here is meteorologist Nick Kelly. He's got a look at your first weather. Nick.
It's been a pretty quiet day and a nice day, Mike, after we had a downright cold start this morning. As advertised, we went back into the upper 20s to near 30 this morning, but a nice jump to 62 for an afternoon high, 5 degrees above our normal high of 57 for this time of the year. We've had mostly clear skies all day long. We're still seeing that right now, but a little bit of a zoom out and a quick pan to the west shows cloud cover working across western parts of Kansas. That's mainly mid and upper level cloud cover that'll work in overnight. Not a big deal with that by any means. In fact, it'll help us out with temperatures. Even though we're cool in the upper 40s to near 50, instead of upper 20s like this morning, we'll see overnight lows drop back into the upper 30s this time around. Partly cloudy to partly sunny skies to start the day, then we'll turn more mostly sunny for the afternoon. And with the southwest wind in place, I think we'll be back in the mid-60s tomorrow, but I have quite a bit of rain chances lining up for the week ahead. Mike will break down the week ahead here in a bit.
Sounds like a plan, and thanks as always, Nick Kelly. Some Boy Scouts took part in the regional tournament for the Mokan District's Pinewood Derby today in Pittsburgh. The goal, to test the building skills of the Scouts to see if they could create a small wooden race car that could take home a big win. It was also an opportunity for 4-Skate Scouts to get creative.
You know, I really hope that they express their creativity and have some fun. And then second of all, I hope that they really enjoy that time with their adult. It's a really great experience to spend time doing something that's not playing on a tablet, watching TV, right? It's another opportunity to kind of get to know somebody of a different age.
There was a total of 6 races, and they were broadcast live on social media for those who couldn't attend in person. Earlier today, Joplin's Empire Market hosted a Goats in the Garden event. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with a master gardener about why he used his goats to help get the public to get an interest in gardening.
Saturday's sunshine meant good conditions to be outside, and even better conditions for gardening. The community gardens at Joplin's Empire Market were open today, Master gardener Eric Osen says the goal of the garden is to make the activity more accessible to anyone.
People learn new things, enjoy gardening, have success gardening.
Originally, Eric was just going to work out in the garden. While he wanted to teach people about the community garden beds, a place where anyone can give planting a go, he worried about attendance.
I had an event in, I believe it was November. It was like putting the garden to bed, and we had all sorts of information about soil testing and different things, and I had one person show up.
He wanted to bring more people in and use his goats to draw people into the garden.
You know, anytime you're in a public event, it's handy to have a hook to get people to stop and listen to you for a minute. And so while we're talking about goats, then I can have the opportunity to mention the garden.
So he reached out to Joplin's Empire Market and set up the Goats in the Garden event. And to his surprise, drew in a pretty big crowd.
I had no idea it would be this popular.
The goats attracted people like Jan Cortez, a huge animal lover.
Had to come. You can see why. They're just so friendly. Like, you don't even have to get used to a certain goat. They just pick them up and they're your friend for life.
She says having the goats was a great way to get more people to learn about the community gardens.
Oh, I love it. It's a great draw. All the things they offer in the farmers market, it's just everything about it is just fun. It's a great, easy, free event you can do on Saturdays. Get you out of the house, especially now. It's just a great place to go.
The event drew in people of all ages, and while some may have shown up just for the goats, they walked away with new gardening knowledge. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Oh my gosh, those goats are the cutest things ever. Oatson also says that due to the goats' popularity, he plans on bringing them back to the market in the future. It's now time for us to honor one of our many four-state heroes, and tonight we recognize Jerry Rogers of Lawrence, Kansas. Rogers served as a corporal in the U.S. Army, and he fought in Operation Desert Storm. He earned 2 Bronze Stars and many other honors. Thank you, sir, for your service and your courage. For more information on all our four-state heroes or to nominate your own, just log on to KOAMnewsnow.com.
As advertised, with the start of our timeless of indigo sky just outside of Seneca, Missouri, some of us had to deal with some patchy fog this morning, but once we got the sun to rise, that quickly burned away, and we just enjoyed beautiful blue skies from start to finish as we went into this evening. As far as temperatures go, we certainly did better than yesterday afternoon, where we just were mainly stuck in the lower 50s. We did have to start off on a cold note, though, mainly upper 20s across the region, 28 at Joplin Regional. Then everyone went back near 60, if not into the lower 60s, for a nice Saturday afternoon. Still looking okay. It's getting a bit chilly, though. Joplin sitting at 50 degrees right now with the south breeze at 5 miles per hour, and that humidity starting to perk up a little bit at 57%. Elsewhere around the region, once you hop outside of Joplin and Columbus, everyone's pretty much back into the 40s. 43 in Stockton, 49 in Chanute, 48 in Welch, while we have Anderson at 48. We have 47 in Miami. And, of course, everyone's still on track to fall back into the upper 30s this time around. So a little bit better compared to this morning because of what's trying to sneak in from the west. A broader view in the Skywatch storm tracker shows a little cloud cover ahead of our next frontal system that will really make its presence known by the middle of next week. For the time being, though, it's trying to bring in some mid and upper level clouds out of western Kansas. That'll try to scoot in here overnight and to start the day tomorrow. In general, though, we were looking quiet this evening, and we've been quiet all day thanks to high pressure continuing to work into the Tennessee Valley. But that front that we're keeping an eye on, it is off to our west and eventually on the way once we get these upper level lows. One near the Gulf of Alaska and the other in Canada. Those are going to be slowly but surely pushing that front our way, and that's going to gradually up our rain chances quite a bit as we go into next week. In the short term, though, we'll just keep an eye on that cloud cover that'll sneak in from the west overnight. And again, the worst that it'll do is just bring our skies back to like partly cloudy conditions, nothing to worry about falling from the skies as we go through the overnight. And again, it helps us out with temperatures. Instead of the upper 20s for lows like we saw this morning, we'll fall back into the upper 30s for tomorrow morning. We'll start around 39 degrees. Then we're going to transition from partly sunny skies to mostly sunny skies once again as we head into the afternoon. And with that southwest breeze at 5 to 15, temperatures look good. 60 by lunchtime, Joplin topping out around 64. I think everybody is fair game to go back into the mid-60s, a nice mild afternoon to enjoy to wrap up our weekend. Then the focus will be a quiet Monday, Cloud cover, though, beginning to pick up as our next front begins to work in from the west. But again, once those pairs of upper-level lows finally start to edge a little bit closer, that slow front will meander on top of us. And this wants to bring in quite a bit of rainfall chances our way. And if this is lining up, we could be dealing with maybe some heavy rain chances, especially by the end of next week. In the short term, though, we're keeping tomorrow dry, Monday dry. Tuesday, maybe a few showers, some scatter storms Wednesday, but then the rain chances really ramp up as we head into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. In the short term, temperatures still look great. 64 tomorrow, 65 Monday, 66 Tuesday, mid-60s for the next 3 days. Even with the rain chances around, Mike, we'll push highs back near 70, and eventually we'll start to cool things down by next Saturday.
All right, sounds like a plan, Nick. We will check back in just a little bit. And still to come, COVID-19 relief checks will soon be on the way for many Americans. That's because the Senate has passed the Biden administration's massive coronavirus relief package. And we're taking a closer look when we return. Long-awaited relief will soon be on its way to the American people. President Biden says $1,400 direct payment should start going out this month following the Senate's approval of his massive COVID-19 relief package. Fox News' Mark Meredith is at the White House with details on what this bill means for you.
It wasn't always pretty, but it was so desperately needed.
President Biden praised Senate Democrats Saturday for passing his $1.9 trillion stimulus package. The bill, a major White House priority, passed down party lines. Republicans stood firmly against the plan they say was packed with wasteful spending.
The Senate has never spent $2 trillion in a more haphazard way or through a less rigorous process.
The legislation means millions of Americans should start to receive $1,400 stimulus checks later this month. Congress is also extending enhanced unemployment benefits at $300 per week through early September. The bill expands the child tax credit and spends billions more to fund state budgets, struggling schools, and vaccine distribution plans.
It's going to make a big difference in so many lives in this country.
President Biden thanked Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer for pushing the bill through. Lawmakers working all night Friday into Saturday morning to reach a deal. Some Democrats, including West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, had raised concerns with the price tag of the bill, but Schumer says in the end, Democrats stuck together.
I said from the beginning, we were going to power through. We're not going to let anything stop us until we got the job done.
It's not a done deal yet. The bill now goes back to the House, where lawmakers will debate it before it reaches the president's desk. The House is expected to start its debate on Tuesday. At the White House, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
Tens of thousands of migrants are pouring into the country across the southwestern border, and United States officials are mulling over where to house them. Fox News' Lucas Tomlinson has more from Washington.
Border agents detained nearly 100,000 migrants at the southern border last month, including many children who arrived without their parents, forcing the U.S. government to scramble to find a place to put them. The Department of Health and Human Services visited a U.S. military base outside Richmond Thursday as a site to potentially house the children. I asked Pentagon spokesman John Kirby if the Defense Secretary supports the move.
The Secretary was supportive of having HHS visit Fort Lee to examine and to do a site survey. And if there is a need, and right now there isn't one, there's no request, but if there's one, the Secretary is fully committed to making sure that that request gets a full airing here at the Pentagon and that we make the best decisions we can.
The number of migrants coming to the border spiked 28% last month compared to January. These numbers were first reported by Reuters ahead of an expected report next week by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. These are the highest number of migrants arriving in the month of February since 2006. And a sign of a potentially increasing wave of migrants coming this spring and summer. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has requested a meeting with President Biden to discuss the rising number of children coming to the border without their parents. This comes as the White House wants to repeal Trump's border policies it calls inhumane. Fort Lee is named after Confederate General Robert E. Lee. It's not clear why it was chosen to potentially house migrant children. In Washington, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Right after this short break, we are taking a look at the vaccine situation in Europe.
As Europe hangs on to its COVID vaccines, Russia and China are handing theirs out like candy. I'm Amy Kellogg in Florence, Italy, and I'll take a look at how things in Europe and beyond are shaking out from both a PR and a health perspective.
Welcome back to your News at 9. Italy is in a bad position and refused to ship 250,000 doses of AstraZeneca's anti-COVID shots to Australia. But Australian officials say they understand why Italy made the decision. Fox News' Amy Kellogg has that story.
Italy, in dire vaccine straits, refused to ship 250,000 doses of AstraZeneca's anti-COVID shots to Australia. The move made Italy the first to act on a new European rule that stipulates if drug makers aren't delivering what they've promised, the bloc can keep what they've made in their own plants for themselves. AstraZeneca is only delivering half of what Europe ordered by the end of the month. Australia was understanding.
In Italy, people are dying at the rate of 300 a day. And so I can certainly understand the high level of anxiety that would exist in Italy and in many countries across Europe, as is regularly conveyed to me. And so they have some real difficulties there. They are in an unbridled crisis situation. That is not the situation in Australia.
Europe is far behind much of the West, vaccinating at just a fraction of the rate Britain is. Brussels was late to opt in on vaccines, haggled over cost, and now is paying a price. This as Russia and China tout the export blitz of their own vaccines, even as a report by jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny's organization this week claimed only 3% of Russians have been vaccinated with Sputnik V.
When Russia exports more the Sputnik vaccine than it uses on its internal vaccination campaign, it reminds me the Soviet vodka. The best one was for export, right? So that's not surprising that they use it as a geopolitical tool.
Part of the reason for Russia's slow rate of vaccination is said to be mistrust of the population. Ironically, the fact now that some European countries are actually looking to the Sputnik vaccine to save them may be changing Russians' own perceptions of their government. In Florence, Italy, Amy Kellogg, Fox News.
Pope Francis arrived at St. Joseph's Chaldean Catholic Cathedral in Baghdad today to celebrate Mass. The house of worship was full of mask-wearing congregants, and Iraqi and Vatican officials promised social distancing and other safety measures would be enforced during Francis's 4-day visit to Iraq, especially at indoor events. Iraqi President Barham Salih also attended the Mass with his wife, and both of them also wore a mask. A suicide car bombing in Afghanistan today killed a local prosecutor. The victim was identified as the chief prosecutor for the Afghan Intelligence Directorate. Officials say the chief was on his way to his office when an attacker drove a car full of explosives into his convoy. One of the chief's bodyguards was also killed and 8 other people, including 2 civilian passerbys, were injured. As of now, no groups have claimed responsibility for the attack. Right after this short break, we are taking a trip to Washington State. That's where some state senators are proposing a do-over year for certain high schoolers who want another crack at the 2020 school year. We're learning all about it when we return. A Senate bill in Washington State is proposing a do-over option year for high school students. It's an option which could replace failing marks or difficulties and allow for catch-up in extracurricular activities. Fox News' Hannah Kim has that story.
What if there was a way that seniors in high school could make 2020 disappear from their transcripts, like it never happened?
It's just weird. It's weird.
But the possibility of a do-over at 5th year of high school is catching the seniors' attention.
This is interesting. Let's hear it out at least.
Senate Bill 5265 wants to give juniors and seniors the option to do an extra year of high school.
Currently, if you do that, your old grade also shows on the permanent record. So this would be a clean slate for somebody who ran into trouble for whatever reason.
For senior Jake Trost, like so many student athletes, the lack of playing time on the field is a concern. So another year to play sports and be scouted is an intriguing idea to Jake.
I think it's a good option overall just to have it. Like, I don't know how logistically it'll work, but I think the idea of it is a good idea.
Senator Hunt says if his measure passes, he wants to leave the details of implementation up to each school district and the WIAA when it comes to student athletes.
Does this have the bipartisan support to go far, though? Because as you know, a lot of bills just get talked about but really go nowhere.
Passed the Senate yesterday, and we had bipartisan support. I got this idea from the state of New Jersey. New Jersey passed a similar law.
How much is this going to cost potentially?
I don't know what it will cost. That's really undetermined. You know, if we knew how many kids were not going to graduate, and I think that's totally up in the air.
As the bill moves to the House for consideration, Hunt says the main motivation for an extra year is not just about academics.
The nexus of it is really high school activities, just trying to give a more normal experience to high school students so they can get the enjoyment that they deserve out of their high school year.
Although Jake is paying attention, there will be no fifth year of high school for him. He got into Whitworth University to play football next year. He's taking that opportunity and running with it.
A Denver family eating breakfast at a restaurant at the Great Wolf Lodge in Colorado Springs left restaurant workers in shock after they left behind a $5,000 tip. After signing their check, the family only had one more request. They wanted the tip to be divided amongst all 5 employees who were working that morning, including 3 servers, 1 host, and a busser. One employee says their generosity left some staff members in tears. Well, don't go anywhere. We've got a lot more news headed your way, as well as another look at your weather with meteorologist Nick Kelly and your KOAM Sports Report with Danny Terzer. That's all headed your way right here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Still to come, you'll learn about a gas line explosion in Texas that injured at least 7 workers. That story and more are next. At least 6 people are dead and 41 more are injured after a bus crashed in Poland. The bus was carrying dozens of Ukrainian citizens when it rolled off an embankment and into a ditch today. Dozens of firefighters, paramedics, and helicopters searched for survivors at the scene. The cause of the accident remains unknown. At least 7 workers were injured when a gas line was accidentally broken in Harris County, Texas on Friday. As you can see, the line exploded and burst into flames. Authorities say the workers had been drilling at the site when the line was hit. One of the victims is currently in critical condition. We have video of the SpaceX flight, which ended in spectacular failure. At first, SpaceX's futuristic Starship looked like it was making a perfect touchdown on Wednesday. But then it exploded on the landing pad with so much force that it was thrown into the air. There it goes. The blast occurred just minutes after the SpaceX mission had been declared a success. 2 previous test flights had crash-landed in fireballs. Tax refunds are rolling out slower this year. The IRS says the total dollar amount of refunds was down close to 60% through February 19th. The agency has processed just $47.7 billion in tax refunds so far this year, as opposed to more than $117 billion during this period last year. The IRS says they did not start processing returns until February 12th, as the agency copes with a backlog of unprocessed returns from last year. The average refund issued so far this year is $2,880. We'll be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather.
Wasn't a bad Saturday overall. Everybody was cold to start this morning, though, and for some, you can see right here at the start of our time lapse from Indigo Sky outside of Seneca, Missouri, some patchy fog was around for parts of the area. But once we got the sun to rise, we burned off all that fog, and we enjoyed just mostly sunny skies from start to finish, making for a beautiful Saturday. And as far as temperatures go, we did better than yesterday. We had to spend much of yesterday afternoon with temperatures in the lower 50s with all the cloud cover and a few scattered showers around. And again, after we dropped back into the upper 20s, back into the lower 60s we went for afternoon highs to get today. If you get a chance to venture outside today to enjoy it, you can savor another nice and mild Sunday ahead of us. But we got to cool things down once again, though, and we're doing that right now in Joplin with the temperature at 50, a south breeze at 5 miles per hour. Outside of the Joplin metro, we're seeing everybody else sitting in the 40s. 42 already in Stockton Lake, while it's 49 in Neosho, Carthage, and Pittsburgh, 48 in Parsons, 47 in Fort Scott, and even mid-40s looking more prevalent now across northeastern Oklahoma. And you can see temperatures, they are still right on track to drop back into the lower to middle 40s by midnight, and eventually upper 30s for overnight lows. So we're going to see temperatures about 10 degrees warmer than where we were this morning as we start your Sunday morning out because of what's trying to sneak in from the west. Some mid and upper level clouds. They've been working out of eastern Colorado. They're picking up some more across central and western parts of Kansas. Nothing underneath the clouds, really, as long as high pressure is still under control. That's what kept us nice and quiet all day. That maintains control as we wrap up the weekend tomorrow. But as we go into next week, it's all about the slow-moving cold front stretch across the Rockies and back into the desert southwest. That's going to slowly start to head our way once we get 2 upper lows to slowly move along as well. One upper low sitting in the Gulf of Alaska, the other north of Edmonton in northern parts of Canada. Both of these will be a nuisance and bringing in quite a bit of rain chances as we go into next week. We'll time that out for you here in a moment, but let's talk about the rest of the night and your day tomorrow to wrap up the weekend. Again, any of that mid and upper level cloud cover out west will try to roll in overnight and stick around to start your Sunday morning out. That does help us out with temperatures, though. We'll only bottom out to 39 degrees, better than the upper 20s we saw this morning. Then we're going to transition from partly sunny skies to mostly sunny skies once again going into the afternoon. And with that southwest breeze, temperatures will respond to that. 60 by noon. I see Joplin topping out at 64. Everyone, though, is fair game to go back into the mid-60s, so looking nice and mild again to wrap up your weekend tomorrow. Let's focus on the rest of the week ahead of us. We're quiet Monday. And aside from maybe a few random showers Tuesday, I think we can squeak by mostly on a dry note for Tuesday. But then those two upper lows out west will start to bring that slow-moving cold front our way. And it wants to stall out across the central parts of the country. That wants to bring in numerous chances for rain and thunderstorms, certainly by midweek and going toward the end of next week. And you can see how the rain chances really ramp up as we go throughout the rest of the week. Maybe 20% coverage Tuesday, 30% Wednesday, but more widespread, more likely Thursday and going into next weekend. And that could bring some heavy rain chances that we need to keep an eye on as well. 64 tomorrow, 65 Monday. Mid-60s continue through Tuesday, pushing near 70 Wednesday and Thursday. That could make me try to bring some strong thunderstorms in here, Mike, before we see temperatures cool back down to the 50s by Saturday.
All right, sounds like a plan, Nick, and thanks as always. And of course, stay tuned, sports fans. We'll be right back with Danny Terzer and your KOAM News at 9 Sports Report.
The Pittsburgh Purple Dragons have a chance to move on to the 5A state tournament this afternoon. Pittsburgh hits the floor at home today against Spring Hill in the sub-state championship game. Purple Dragons enter the day on an 8-game winning streak. Javon Grant dishes it off to Mason English in the corner. He drains the 3. Then Grant going coast to coast for a nice layup. He drops 41 in the game. Cooper Jones now with a 3, but it's all Pittsburgh in this one. English now flips it over to Malachi Courtney for the put-in. Purple Dragons dominate. They beat Spring Hill 82-52. Tonight is also championship night at the 3A sub-state tournament in Riverton. On the girls' side, the top-seeded Frontenac Raiders face Girard, aiming to return to the state tournament. This is the third meeting of the season between the two teams. Girard won both in the regular season. Michaela Asmus in the corner. She drops 3. Then Jada Valley dribbling. She puts down the stop and shoot 3. To the second now. Here's Hattie Pyle with the rebound. She draws the and 1. That's to tie the game. Sydney Franenberry comes away with the rebound here. She puts it up as time expires. Frontenac is going to the state tournament. They get the win 45-29.
Things are going the way we want them. I mean, we're going to take the same shots we just took. We're going to run, do the same things defensively. And in the course of 4 quarters, they're going to go in. And we just kept doing it, stayed plugged in mentally and great things. We felt like we just need to be a little more aggressively offensively. We kind of got a little passive there at the end of this year. And we just wanted to play with confidence on the offensive end, and I think we did that tonight.
On the boys' side, the Galena Bulldogs are trying to get back to the state tournament, up against Riverton in the sub-state championship. The kick out to Derek Larison. He drops the triple. Then Deacon Henson driving through traffic here. He gets the contested 2. Fourth quarter. Joel Sigia at the top of the arch. He puts down 3. Riverton outscores Galena 19-10 in the fourth, but Galena is going back to the state tournament. They win 34-33.
We'll get back. I know we had a couple guys today that were banged up a little bit from last night. I mean, two nights in a row battled. Frontenac and Riverton. It was 2 really good teams from our conference, and we got to get healthy before Tuesday comes. Whatever that takes, that's my biggest concern at this point, is to get back to healthy.
Today is a big day for Pitt State softball. The Gorillas host Minnesota Duluth in their home opener after 8 straight games on the road. This is Pitt State's first home game since April 2019 due to the pandemic. With With a runner on, Kiana Bender homers out to right. Bats are hot for the Bulldogs early. To the third, Jordan Thomas, her second home run of the day here. Minnesota Duluth takes a 4-1 lead. Katie Kukowski now, that's a 2-run home run. She'll put the Gorillas within one, but Minnesota Duluth keeps the pressure going. They win this one 8-3. Pitt State baseball also at home for a doubleheader against Northeastern State. Game 1, Peyton Ingalls goes 3 up, 3 down in the second. C.D. White at bat now in the fourth, singles up the middle. Here's Chaz Orr rounding third and scoring. That brings in 2 runs for the Riverhawks. Adam Thies has an answer, a big one, 3-run home run that will tie the ball game, but Pitt State falls 16-8. Game 2 of the doubleheader goes to Northeastern State as well. They beat the Gorillas 3-0. Braden Rodden played a part in each run scored for the Riverhawks. He finishes the ball game with 2 hits, 2 runs, and an RBI. Missouri Southern's also in action today with the doubleheader against Washburn. The Lions enter the day with a perfect 10-0 record. In Game 1, Missouri Southern is handed their first loss of the season. Washburn comes away with a win 5-3. Game 2 takes extra innings. In a dramatic finish, the Lions score in the 11th inning on a balk. Missouri Southern wins it 4-3. We'll be right back with more news.
Welcome back. Spring break is underway in Florida. State officials are trying to control the visiting students and avoid a new coronavirus outbreak. Fox News' Phil Keating has more from Fort Lauderdale.
Are you going to do spring break?
Yeah! Spring break 2021 in South Florida is on, beginning 3 peak weeks. And Washington University's Hamza Tahir says young people are letting loose.
Here at this spot, especially like on the streets and stuff, people get wasted. It's pretty wild.
Last year's spring break got effectively killed when the beaches closed to the public. But this year, the sand, surf, and sunshine are wide open. And that's a big concern for city leaders who've suggested wild and crazy kids go to Vegas instead, fearing that a year of pandemic will fuel pent-up demand to party and spread COVID.
If you're coming here to go nuts, if you're coming here to let loose, if you think anything goes is what we want, you're very mistaken. We have lots of rules.
Florida's $90 billion a year tourism economy feeds on Florida's lack of snow, and spring break is a major boost to hotels, bars, and restaurants, which all lost a lot of money last year when the crowds disappeared. But some spring breakers may be surprised at tighter rules. In South Beach, there's a midnight curfew, a mask mandate, social distancing rules, 400 cops patrolling day and night, no coolers allowed, no open containers, and arrests and citations will be made.
Yes, I want to go out. I'm dying to go out, but obviously I know I can't, so I'm going to be in the house. We could be responsible for now, and then like in a couple months we could party it up. Yeah.
In Fort Lauderdale, it's more lax. There is no curfew. Last year, the CDC did some post-spring break COVID analysis and found there definitely was some spread, which made its way all back to the hometowns across the country. Exactly how much spread? Difficult to pin down. In Fort Lauderdale, Phil Keating, Fox News.
A daredevil in Florida is caught on camera. Fox News' Laura Greenberg checks out the footage of a motorcyclist hopping over a drawbridge during the bike week in Daytona Beach.
With the pandemic and reduced capacity, there was some concern that Bike Week might not be the same. But if this video proves one thing, it's that it's just as wild as ever.
Just 6 seconds of video tweeted out by the Daytona Beach police chief proves one thing. Bike Week shenanigans are here.
Okay, it's a little crazy. Yeah?
I say we try it tonight. Yeah. You gave me an idea. Thank you.
Watch again as one guy drives his motorcycle right over the Main Street drawbridge.
Have you ever seen something like that?
No, I can honestly say I've never seen that. That's definitely a new one. Chief Jakari Young tweeted the video telling folks to please be safe and be smarter than this guy. The chief wasn't available after he sent the tweet, but yesterday he told us he had no doubts this year's Bike Week would be as crazy as ever, despite the pandemic.
I think their mindset is, if you're afraid, don't come, stay home. So those that are coming, they're looking to party and they're looking to make up for lost time.
And bikers certainly are.
This is my first time here, and it's been pretty wild so far. I've seen just about anything you could do on a bike. I've pretty much seen it in the first 2 days.
Some say that behavior comes with the territory.
There's always going to be somebody. There's always going to be one in the crowd that gets a little wild, does a little crazy thing.
As of now, there are no charges pending against the guy who drove over the drawbridge, but that might change if they do happen to find him. Really, the chief says he put this video out as a warning to drivers to be safe.
We are not done yet here in your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And when we return, we are headed to Russia to check out the 7th annual Baikal race. You'll learn one of the reasons this dog skiing race is unique in just 2 quick minutes. Welcome back to your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Dog sled racers and dog ski racers gathered in Russia to compete in the 7th annual Baikal race. The 93-mile-long race kicked off today with 11 teams from various Russian cities competing. The unique race has no checkpoints, giving racers full control over strategy and brake decisions. Fully prepared for the freezing temperatures, participants also packed tents and equipment to help keep warm. Drone footage captures the moment when lambs are reunited with their mothers for a feeding at a farm in Turkey. Video footage shows dozens of little lambs rushing to a pen to be fed. The mothers and their babies are usually separated after birth, but the young lambs are allowed to reunite with their mothers twice a day for feedings. Turkish agriculture experts say recent studies suggest that mothers and their offspring recognize each other based on vocal cues. A bobcat that had been orphaned is released into the wild. The video of the event was shared by the San Diego Humane Society. Someone had originally discovered the bobcat abandoned on private property in Borrego Springs in November. Veterinarians discovered that the animal had a gastrointestinal infection and treated it with antibiotics and a natural diet. The bobcat was released into the wild on Wednesday, World Wildlife Day. And finally, check out this footage of endangered turtles being released that took place over in India. Officials released 131 turtle hatchlings into the sea on Friday. A couple of months earlier, Forest Department patrollers collected 135 eggs on the beach. They cared for them in a hatchery more than 50 days before releasing them. All right, well, thanks so much for tuning in this evening. We will see you tomorrow right here for more KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Have a great night, and as always, stay safe out there.